Afternoon. We have featured, we have with us today Mr. Philip Ning, SMB Solutions Manager for HP, and Ms. Jane Leong, the Managing Director for CR Media.
Apart from the passion and the focus, the goal that we are looking at in terms of coming from the group, one of the very key important areas is because this is a focus on public SMEs. So how much they actually get down to the ground also to understand the industry, having a grasp of the industry that they are trying to provide a solution for. So I think the effort that's been made to understand before they present a goal or a solution, I think that's very important. And it's not just an academic exercise, because this is combining business and IT. It's not just talking about IT solutions. You can have the best IT solutions, but you might not fit the industry. So I think that is key to our judging as well, one of the very important criteria.
And I have to add, we saw overall high quality throughout. So once we've got past the basic judging criteria, we're also interested in how well they present themselves. Do they work together as a team? Is the load evenly shared out? You know, what kind of enthusiasm they're showing and how they're sharing that enthusiasm. I won't go into specific teams, but what I will say is that the different teams tended to do extremely well in certain areas of judging. Eventually, the team that won was good across the board. But I really have to commend some of the teams for being particularly good. So the one that I remember is the team who was working on the solution for renovation contractors. They took the trouble to present their ideas in the form of a skit. When they were showing us slides, it was like everybody else, and they got maybe 30-40% of the message. When they played out the skit, the solution got across by 100%. And I thought that their willingness to act and go beyond a standard presentation made it much easier for me to understand what kind of solution they were proposing. That stood out for me, aside from the winners.
Yeah, I think the final team that we picked was, as Philip said, was very consistent across the board in terms of their research and analysis and presentation. Although there were one or two groups that actually had very creative ideas. It's just that, you know, they were comprehensive and now they didn't touch on the business aspect of what they were presenting in terms of return on investment. So, as I said, you know, if you say close calls, it will be on that creativity level. I think there were one or two teams that had really interesting ideas. But this particular team that we selected in was very consistent throughout the whole area of presentations from the various aspects in terms of business, in terms of the solutions.
To say I'm very pleased with how it turned out. More than anything else, we wanted to engage the youth. We wanted the youth to start thinking about real-world practical aspects, but we also wanted to bring their creativity and their enthusiasm. And to some extent, we wanted them to bring the fact that they didn't know what they couldn't do to bear. You know, if you ask somebody who's more in my age group, the first thing we think of when we see a proposal is 10 reasons why it can't be done. The wonderful thing about having the youth come out to tell us about these things is that they don't know what can't be done. And we get new perspectives. So it was actually very refreshing to watch the presentations, and I must say that it was easier for me to get to work in the afternoon because it just felt good. It was a very healthy thing to see a new perspective on things that, you know, had gotten a little bit jaded for me on a day-to-day basis.
So for you judges, right? Let's say if you had any say in how we would like teams to be judged on, considered in terms of the criteria, do you have any opinion on, you know, with respect to students, because they from an academic background, so they are mindset might be a little different. Do you have any? Do you think that there's any change needed? Any need for change in terms of how we assess them?
change in the criteria?
Yeah,
Any other
correct.
criteria?
Yeah, that's what judges do. When you see them present, you think there's anything you feel that perhaps we should change something so that it can be easier for them because they might not see some certain things in a certain way.
Well, I thought that the criteria that HP has laid out, has actually laid out for this particular competition is actually very good already, because as I said, we focus on teamwork as well, leadership process and their presentation skills. So all this, I think, is whether you are a student or whether you're in the business world, is important. How you deliver the thing, whether you work well with the team. So these are all elements of the leadership qualities. And this was part of the judging criteria as well. The other aspect which was laid out was also the correlation to business, the return on investment. We expect them to search on cost and how relevant it is to a particular business. So I thought the criteria was actually pretty comprehensive already. I don't think that there's anything else we want to add. The only thing I think, I hope that the students actually went through the criteria a little bit more thoroughly, because I think some of them missed out some of the criteria. That's why they didn't present the whole thing. They only covered certain parts of the criteria, and that's why I think some of them lost out more in that count. As I said, presentation, teamwork was good, delivery was good, but because they didn't cover the cost aspect, the return on investment, that's why they lost out in those areas.
I wouldn't want to tighten criteria anymore because, in a sense, we are looking to be surprised, and by setting too stringent a criteria of everyone looking exactly the same, I like it when we get surprised. So we do have a category for the public. We have a category for businesses, and we have actually a category especially for women entrepreneurs. I would very much love to see these students come back in one of the other categories later on, because it would mean that they have made it, they are in business, and they're there to put Singapore on the map. My thought behind that is that our school system prepares our students very, very well in terms of thinking, in terms of analyzing. I think what we would like to see more of is the ability to present those ideas. Creativity is certainly there and it's coming forward. The trick is to be able to present it in a way that fires up other people's interest and passion. And we saw a start of that this time around. The groups really made an effort to come across and get their story across, not just with the words that they used, but by what they wore, the way they coordinated themselves, and the tone of voices that they used. So it's really good to see this, because at the end of the day, success is not just how good your ideas are, but how well you can communicate them.
Okay, do you have anything to add to that?
I think as Philip said, the ideas may be there, the solutions may be interesting. How well you bring it across. The key is communication. How well you can communicate to the judges and to the people the people you're selling the solution to is very important. And if you talk about advice, I would only say one thing. I noticed that amongst all the groups, it's very important that the first person who actually did the presentation is calm and steady, because once the first person is nervous, you can see that the entire team down the line gets very nervous and edgy. But once the person who sets the tone is calm and cool, actually everybody down the line does a great job. And I noticed from the winning team, as I said, they're very consistent, because the first person presented was very steady, very calm. And everyone down the line was, as I said, very confident. So that's the only thing I would say in terms of presentation, that the first person must set the right tone to help the rest of the teammates to go.
Thank you for